The tunnel begins with a gentle curve, just far enough from the main viewing hall that the sounds of the day no longer reach you. Behind you, doors are closed. Ahead of you, the long corridor stretches into quiet blue. Soft lights trace the lower edges of the floor on both sides, close to the glass walls. They glow in a muted tone, not white, not harsh, but something closer to a dim, warm gray. The light doesn't compete with the water outside. It simply outlines the path, making each step clear and easy to place. The floor under your feet has a solid, faintly textured surface, firm enough to feel secure. Smooth enough that your steps make very little sound. In the silence, even the smallest sound can stand out, but here nothing really echoes. It all fades quickly, absorbed by the shape of the tunnel and the presence of the water pressing calmly against the walls. The water outside is not bright. It holds a deep, steady color, somewhere between blue and gray, shifting gently as hidden currents move through it at a pace you cannot hear. Light filters in from above, but it has traveled far before it reached this depth, softening every edge. You take a slow step forward, then another, letting your pace find a natural rhythm. There's no rush here. The tunnel does not ask for speed. On your left, the curved glass reveals the sea in a wide, uninterrupted arc. There's no frame to break your view. The water stretches beyond your sight, fading into shadows where the light no longer reaches. Closer to the tunnel, the color is clearer, more present. Soft gradients move along the surface of the glass, created by light that has passed through the water and settled into gentler shades. On your right, the same water presses against another wide curve of glass. The tunnel runs like a transparent bridge between two spacious volumes. You are not above or below the sea. You are inside a quiet corridor, threaded through it. You walk on. Your steps land with a soft, even pressure. Your breath moves in and out in a calm, unhurried rhythm. The air in the tunnel feels cool, well filtered, steady. You can sense the difference between the controlled climate inside and the vast, pressurized world just beyond the glass. That contrast is not sharp or frightening. Along the ceiling, strips of recessed lighting stretch in a subtle pattern, following the curve of the tunnel. They are not the main focus. Most of the illumination originates from the lower lights along the floor, allowing the water to hold the upper part of your view. The effect is simple. Your eye is drawn outward, not inward. You move past a slight widening in the tunnel, where the glass arcs up a bit higher and the floor space spreads out by a few steps. This small zone almost feels like a pause in the design, but you keep walking at the same pace. The change in shape allows the light in the water to play differently along the curve. A faint band of lighter blue slides across the band, then fades like a quiet brushstroke. No announcements interrupt the calm. No recorded voice echoes through the speakers. The facility's systems are present only as a soft, distant hum that never rises to the level of distraction. Ahead, the tunnel straightens. The sideline opens into a long, clean perspective. The lights along the floor form two parallel lines that stretch forward and disappear into a gentle vanishing point. The water on both sides remains dense and slow, carrying the same steady depth of color. You walk along this straight section, noticing how your mind settles even further when the path no longer curves. There's comfort in the repetition. Step, light, glass, water. The floor does not change. The sound level does not change. The pressure of the air remains constant. Every now and then, subtle patterns appear in the water. Not animals, not sudden motion. These patterns cause slow-moving waves of slightly different shade to travel across the glass. They are vague, soft, easy to watch without needing to focus. You pass small metal plates set discreetly into the base of the glass intervals. They are positioned low enough not to interrupt your view. Spaced regularly along the tunnel. Their purpose is practical, but tonight they serve as quiet markers, ticking by as you move forward. After a while, the tunnel begins to slope downward in a very gentle incline. You almost do not feel it at first, but the relationship between the glass walls and the water outside shifts slightly. The darkness in the distance seems to rise a little as you descend. The floor lights keep their steady brightness. The glass maintains its clarity. The water's surface is far above you, out of sight, replaced entirely by the deep vertical presence of the sea around you. You adjust nothing in your pace. You let the slope carry you in a slow, almost unnoticeable descent. Up ahead, a wider section of the tunnel appears. This part has a small circular platform in the middle of the floor, where the path gently broadens into a viewing node. The lights here form a ring instead of straight lines, and the glass arc feels a little higher. The space allows you to take a few steps that do not strictly follow a straight axis, though you may still keep moving forward. You cross the edge of the circular section and feel the openness of the geometry wrap around you. The water outside remains exactly as patient as before, but here you can see slightly more of it at once. The glass around you bends at an angle that gives you a fuller, continuous impression of the depth. You could stop here, but you do not need to. Simply walking through this enlarged space is enough. The change in volume is appreciated in motion rather than stillness. Your footsteps trace a soft line through the middle as you continue. On the far side of the circle, the tunnel narrows again, returning to its original width. The descent slows, then levels out. The parallel lines of light resume their alignment, guiding you onward with familiar precision. The further you go, the more the world outside of the glass looks unified. There are no visual distractions, no landmarks, no sudden details. Just gradients of blue and green, drifted by invisible currents, layered in a quiet vertical expanse. The simplicity of the view lets your thoughts loosen and move without gripping onto anything. In the distance, another slight curve begins to form in the tunnel. This time, it bends to the right. The angle is broad, gradual, as if the corridor has plenty of room to change direction without forcing it. As you enter the curve, the way the light touches the water shifts again. The glow from the floor slides across the glass at a different angle, creating new, faint patterns on the inside surface. Small, subtle reflections move along with you and dissolve as you pass. You walk in the arc, following it as it gently carries you into a new orientation. The sense of motion comes not from your speed, which remains slow, but from the shifting relationship between the tunnel and the distant darkness of the sea. Halfway through the curve, another wider section appears. This one is even more subtle than the circular space from before. The floor fans out just a little, and the ceiling arches slightly higher, introducing a soft feeling of space without becoming grand or imposing. In the broader portion, the water outside seems to hang even more heavily, as though you are walking through a pocket of greater depth. The lighting remains unchanged, but the way the dark tones gather beyond the glass gives you a sense of being at the quiet center of something vast and very still. You continue forward, letting the tunnel guide you back into a straight line. Your attention drifts in and out of details. At times you focus on a small patch of texture in the water's gradient. At other times you simply feel yourself walking, hearing your own breath gently reflect inside your chest. The tunnel begins to rise, just as gradually as it once descended. The incline is so gentle that your body hardly reacts to it. But the color outside the glass brightens in tiny steps. You notice it, not in one moment, but in many small impressions. A slightly lighter glow, a clearer sense of shade, a thinning of the darker layers. The floor lights stay loyal to their task, glowing at the same level from start to finish. They do not need to increase in brightness. The enhancement comes solely from the diffused daylight filtering through the water above you. Eventually, the tunnel reaches another junction, a quiet point where a short branch splits off to the left. The side passage is narrower and shorter, ending in a rounded cul-de-sac. Its floor lights are dimmer, almost in rest. You do not turn. You remain on the main corridor, allowing the junction to slide past on your periphery. The path ahead leads toward a faintly brighter segment. The glass on both sides still show the deep sea pressing calmly against it. But the tone of the water now holds a lighter band higher up. You cannot see the surface. Only the suggestion that it exists farther above, beyond many meters of space. At last, you start to recognize a shift inside the tunnel as well. The ceiling begins to lower slightly, reducing the internal volume of the space. The glass curves remain generous, but the overall size feels more intimate. You are gradually being brought back, without abruptness, to a more contained environment. The floor lights extend until the end, forming one continuous sequence of gentle cues. One by one, they pass by under your steps, each a quiet witness to your passage through the deep. Up ahead, a thicker frame appears around the tunnel. The glass meets solid structures, not as decoration, but as a transition point. Beyond that frame, the corridor changes into a more conventional walkway that leads back toward the main hall of the facility. You approach the transition at the same steady pace you've held all along. There's no gate, no abrupt barrier, only a shift from curved glass and water to solid walls and softer, more familiar lighting. You walk through the frame, and the sea recedes from your immediate view. Behind you, the tunnel remains, carrying its thread of calmness through the water. Ahead of you lies a quieter, simpler path through the interior of the building. Your footsteps continue, light and slow, as the memory of the deep, silent corridor lingers gently in your mind, like a soft echo that does not demand anything, just stays. And your walk reaches its natural end here, without drama, without noise, just a quiet closing of distance between where you were and where you are now.